Going live.
Okay.
And recording.
Okay.
All right. And the thumbnail showed up as episode 65, but that's okay. You should be seeing people dialing shortly.
Yes. Hi, Pixel.
I'll drop this in Telegram.
I'll do the same. And 65. Yeah, the thumbnail showed up at 65, but that will update. Hi, Nick. He says, good morning from Wyoming. Paraskivas says hello. Shrnivas says hi. Jake, good evening from Holland. Good evening. Don Cheetos says, sup guys, how you doing? Chris, how you doing? This is going to be a very relaxed episode today. We're going to start momentarily.
Hi, everyone. Happy holidays. Don, Chris, Jake, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're at in the world.
Adonis, how are you doing? And let me know when we're ready to go, Rick.
All right. Looks good. We're ready.
Okay, so welcome everyone to the Cardano Effect Podcast, episode 67. The purpose of this podcast is to take high-level developer information and projects that are occurring within the Cardano space and break them down into bite-sized, consumable pieces of information for everyday use. I'm your host, Philippe, and let's get this podcast started. The hosts of the Cardano Effect Podcast today are Rick and myself. This is our weekly live stream episode where we recap all the events that happen within the Cardano ecosystem. This was a very big week. 1 second. I think, Rick, your mic is low. Hold on 1 second.
Say again.
Rick, your mic is low. How's my mic? I'm sorry to interrupt this, but people are saying the sound is a little bit low. Is my sound all right?
Okay, I'm going to crank it up. How's that? A little closer?
Okay.
More gain?
Okay. Yeah, I think that's all right now. All right,
Okay.
sorry about that. But the hosts of the Cardano Effect podcast today are Rick and myself, and today's our live stream episode. So we recap all the events that happened within the past week. This week was very eventful. It was only a week long, but it felt like a month, especially every day was a new narrative. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. We're going to go to Reddit. You can follow along by going to the subreddit Cardano, sorting by top and going to the best of the best of the week. And we go down those posts, and then we also answer chat from YouTube. So this is a chance for everyone to interact with each other. This is probably going to be our last podcast of 2019. I'm going on vacation tomorrow, and I won't be back until the end of the year. And Rick and I will probably just take the year off. I don't know if we'll do something the following week, but this is probably the last one of 2019, so we want to make it special. We want everyone to enjoy their holiday season with their family and friends, and it's the year's wrapping up. The year's wrapping up. So without further ado, I want to give our financial disclaimer. None of what we say on this podcast is financial advice. Remember, you are your best financial advisor, and if you don't think you are, you need to find someone who's qualified to do so. So without further ado, Rick, how are you doing this morning? How are you enjoying your Saturday morning? What's going on? What's happening?
Hey, Philippe. I'm doing well, thanks. I'm tired, a little bit fatigued, like many pool operators, but very happy and very excited. Staking's live. It's working. It's going fantastic. There's a few things that need to be worked through, but it's live. It's launched, and it's working. That's why I'm wearing my Plutus t-shirt today, because Plutus is right around the corner. You know, Cardano has a long timeline, so I'm thinking maybe 6 months out. Shelly launched. It's up and running. Yes, there's a few glitches, but it's working, and it's doing what it's supposed to do. And there will be releases coming out as we work through the testnet. And everybody knows, I think it's been well publicized, this is a testnet. anticipate hiccups and then anticipate updates that will resolve those as we go along. Then also anticipate the introduction of new features, and you'll see that as we go along also. So fatigued and excited, and that's just how it is, because it's been since Monday staking went like live. Daedalus was released. It already came out Wednesday.
Yes, I believe it was Wednesday.
And I've been messing with Daedalus. Lots of fun, cool stuff there. Figured out a few workarounds in case you run into some hiccups. And Philippe's been working with Yoroi. So how do you like Yoroi so far?
So I just tested Yoroi this morning. I had a mobile wallet on Android. So before the November 29th snapshot, I had some test ADA on a Yoroi mobile wallet. I released a video on my personal YouTube channel. And since there's no mobile staking at this point in time, the wallet schematics are the same for the Yoroi mobile wallet as they are for the Yoroi web wallet. So once you download the Yoroi web wallet testnet, you'll be able to insert your 15-word seed phrase from your Yoroi mobile wallet, and then you can delegate to a stake pool. It's going to ask you to convert your ADA from the Gogan ADA to the Shelly ADA, and it does that pretty automatically. It's a very quick process, and there's a simple delegation center that you can click on in Yoroi. And I got a couple error messages while I was doing it that the server was down, but you just have to do it over and over again until it works for you. The servers are getting basically overloaded, and some people have issues connecting, but you just have to wait and be patient. Your ADA is not gone, or it hasn't disappeared. It's there. It's just about a matter of accessing it. Like Rick said, probably over the next couple of days or couple of weeks, things will stabilize and people will have a much smoother experience with delegating. And it seems like the servers are lightening up a little bit. So this is a test net. I don't think that IOHK or Emergo could have anticipated the demand, and they're working around the clock as well. So as operators are working around the clock, so is IOHK and Emergo. So, Rick, I'm going to pass it over to you. How was your experience with Daedalus?
Excellent. And, Crypto Dad did a really good Daedalus video. So if you guys know Crypto Dad or Rex over there, check out his video on Crypto Dad's channel. He did a great review on Daedalus. I had a good experience with it. There were a few hiccups, but it is so easy to use. Can I do a screen share?
Of course. Go for it.
Okay. I got it open right now. Can people hear me okay? Because I got a lot of apps open on my little laptop here.
I heard a couple people in the chat said that they need a little bit more volume from Rick. I'm not sure if that's current. Can everyone let us know whether or not you need a little bit more volume from Rick?
I'll get to the screen share. Okay, share. Daedalus. This is awesome. Epic names in Cardano. I love these names. Okay, so I got
a couple people still say to crank up the volume, Rick. So can you give us a little bit more volume?
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. I'm cranking it up. That's my gain. Hold on. I think
okay.
Sorry guys. It happens. No, I got all my settings look good.
Okay.
How's that? I'm cranking it up, the system and the physical. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Yeah, sound checks were going to start it. Okay, so back over to Daedalus. So it's so easy to use. This is absolutely incredible. This is a fantastic piece of software. Utterly amazing. Now I know people have run into a few hiccups with Daedalus and Yoroi, but keep in mind it depends on which node it picks up, because it is a decentralized network now. The only point of centralization is when the nodes bootstrap. Okay, there's maybe 2 points of centralization. One is when the nodes bootstrap, they grab a copy of the blockchain, but when they're up and running, they're in a decentralized state. And the other point of decentralization or centralization is the Cardano Foundation registration to keep track of the pools, which is a good idea so that people don't make names of pools that are malicious in nature. You don't want that in there. But other than that, the function of the network, when these wallets are hot online, is decentralized. And so you might pick up a server that is a node that is in not up-to-date state or something, and it will affect how the wallet responds. So you can just close it out and open it up again, maybe check back later, and it'll pick up a different node, or that node will catch up to date, and it will display correctly, but I am just utterly flabbergasted by how easy this is to stake. I mean, you just click any. This is easier than anything I've ever used, man. I like
Bro.
easy. I
The
like easy.
interface is very cool. Very cool.
You
We
just,
were speaking, we were speaking about it before. I mean, it resembles stock tickers, and you just choose a stock ticker that's best for you.
yeah. Does anyone think it could get easier than this? I mean, I know I pimp some stuff out sometimes, but man, I am just amazed. And it has everything you need in there.
Yes.
You can go to the website of the user. You can check the pledge address. You got everything you need to do to make a decision right there contained inside Daedalus. And that's what I was looking for is, whenever we were coming up upon this, I've used other wallets similar in nature, and there other cryptos have very effective wallets. This one top marks for ease. I like easy. This is easy. This is it right here.
Yes.
And you know what else? I love this countdown clock, man. I love it.
Yes, yes. No, the countdown clock is great. And just for everyone that's not familiar, the epoch time, or I know everyone always gets on me for saying epoch instead of epic, but epoch. The epoch time is 1 day in the testnet versus when we hit mainnet, it's going to be 5 day period. So every day it completes that epoch and the statistics kind of reset. I'd like to also let people know that a quick tip and trick is that once you delegate to a pool, say you delegate in Epoch 5, in the middle of Epoch 5, your stake will be live in Epoch 6, but you won't get paid until the end of Epoch 6. So you're going to have to wait almost 2 days to get your first payment, contingent of the actual pool winning blocks. I'd also like to remind everyone that stake pool operators, Rick, myself, and all the other stake pool operators, at no point do we ever control your funds, or are we sending payments. It's automatically distributed from the protocol. So there's no, if you're not getting payments or you're not getting rewards after a certain number of epochs, you could have a glitch within Daedalus or a glitch within Yoroi where it's showing a zero balance. You may have to keep on refreshing, or you may have not waited a long enough period of time, or the pool may not be winning blocks, but you can check to see if the pool is winning blocks. So if the pool is actually winning blocks, you will receive your ADA rewards. As far as I've been receiving a lot of questions about performance, so it's a very tricky statistic now. I think that it's going to be very useful in a few weeks when the actual testnet stabilizes. But right now, it really doesn't mean much because we have a little issue with the stake pool operators and the network forking. So pools are coming in and out, in and out, in and out. So the best piece of advice I can give you, and it's not self-serving, well, it may be a little bit self-serving, is stick to a pool, because even though it may not be winning now, it may win in a day or so. And there's a grace period of like 2 days before you start winning rewards. So stick until you figure out some stability. But the rankings should matter more in a few weeks when things stabilize. What do you think, Rick? Is that good advice?
Yeah, I think so, because crypto likes fast. We like high speed. We like to see things ramp up very quickly. Whereas like in general in stocks, people look more long term and they look for trend analysis over long periods of time. But in crypto, it's like, hey, I want to push a button and the moon shows up, and maybe rocket launch to the moon. But it does. I think you might want to look at one for a little while. I took some screen captures I have on my desktop. I can show you what Fleet means visually, but the forking is causing nodes to pop in and out. Some nodes don't fork at all, depending on, I mentioned this before, maybe geographic location and node configuration and the speed of their internet and the hops and stuff like that. We don't entirely understand it. That's why it's called testnet. Some people understand it well, more so than others. And so some nodes will pop in and out. You might click on a node that has a really high marks right now. On this Epoch 7, Epoch 8 shows up and nothing because it hit a fork or whatever happened. And it's usually, I would say, in general, the node operators are keeping their nodes up for a very high percentage of time. They're keeping them up and running 100% of the time, the computer and the server itself. But if it wanders off on a fork, they have to pause it, delete, and restart it and get it back on the correct main chain. Or at least what we're using as a reference point is the main chain is the Shelley Cardano Block Explorer. And that's where people are pointing to stay synchronized throughout the network. And then some nodes don't have to do that, and they're staying synchronized pretty well. But yeah, so there's there's 400 and some. There's a little over 400 pools, which is another man. That's really cool. We were shooting for 1,000, and mainnet hasn't even released, and we're over 400 pools. So that's pretty amazing. But you got to take the bad with the good. Of those 400 pools, if you look somewhere around number 120, 130 right now, any pool below 130 hasn't made a block yet. And that doesn't mean they're doing anything wrong. That node could be up 100%, but there's just some feature or function of the network that's preventing that pool to be competitive. So we got to give them all a fair shake. So check them out and give that some consideration as well. I just personally, I just have mine delegated. I've got all my eggs in one basket. So I have my stake and my owner's key and my wallet all in the same section and pointing back, delegating my own. And that's just once I get the node stabilized, then I can parse that out and get delegating to other pools. But if you're a user and you're using Daedalus or Yoroi to stake, you can make multiple wallets and point to multiple pools. So that's another great feature. So I think it was a home run. Smashed it out of the park. The network itself still needs some work. We knew that going into it. But as far as the wallets go and the user experience and the ease of use, it was a grand slam. What do you think, Philippe? What would you call it?
I think so. Like Rick was saying, there's still some issues, and you have to be easy on the stake pool operators. Like Rick was saying before, our servers, all our equipment is up and running. It's not like the equipment is failing, but if you go on the wrong chain or you go on the fork, and that's sometimes not controllable by you. Most of the time, it's not controlled by you. You have to make sure that you adjust. So things are going to smooth out, and it's not necessarily that your favorite pool has downtime. It's just that the network needs to sort all of this new activity out. And I think that there's supposed to be another release on December 23rd, according to Twitter. So that might patch things up even more. But I anticipate that there are going to be subsequent or sequential releases for the next few weeks, just making sure that they patch everything up so there's no sort of infinite fork issue in the future and pools aren't just losing their spot on the main chain.
Yeah, and what Philippe said, we observed that during the networking phase of the testnet, and that's pretty much how it went. I described it on another video yesterday evening, but yeah, you start off and the network behaves in a certain manner, then the developers make adjustments to the protocol. They're minor, like 99%, 99.5% is done. They just make little adjustments, redeploy it. The stake pool operators put it out on their servers, and then you see improvements. So that's what I anticipate seeing over the next couple of weeks. Although it's going to wind down during the holidays. If you saw Charles's AMA yesterday, it'll be a little bit of wind down coming up for the holidays, and totally expected. I'm doing that too. Philippe, we're taking our holiday time.
Yeah, definitely.
But I anticipate probably by the second week of January, we're going to see a significant improvement in performance of what's already a really reasonably good network. I got kind of beat up on Twitter yesterday because I called it wrecked, and that's people don't like that word. it was I said it's wrecked. It keeps forking, and I was like, people like eviscerated me. It was pretty bad. It's okay though. It's okay if you get mad at me. I mean, if you're gonna be mad at someone, just get mad at me. Don't I don't mind.
Let me tell everyone something, and regardless of what opinion you had about what went on, Rick is one of the most passionate people that you've ever met, and he's truly is passionate about this project, and he wants what's best for it. And Rick's moves are always calculative. It's not like he's a sporadic individual or impulsive individual. I've known him for long enough. And when he was speaking about the testnet, it's not like it's a single thought shared by one pool operator. It's shared by a lot of pool operators, and there are things that need to be fixed in order for us to provide the best quality services to you. We want to make sure that we are giving you everything that we can. And just like you're delegating, you're trying to set it and forget it, pool operators are trying to also find their groove where they don't have to monitor their pools 24 hours a day as far as making sure that they have to reset right before a block and whatnot. They want to make sure that they put the proper hardware in place, and then it just starts spinning and producing those blocks. So there's two sides to every story, and we're just doing this to make sure that your experience is as seamless as possible. And moving into the mainnet, we have as fluid of a system as possible.
Yeah, and the user experience with the wallet is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Knocked it out of the park. And then the pool operator experience, they're suffering a little bit of fatigue. I know I am, Philippe, and the teams are suffering a little bit of fatigue. But I would like to take a survey. If there's any pool operators watching right now, let me know if most of you have migrated to Linux, because it appears that the Linux variant, because of certain features, seems to be doing a lot better. And it's not Windows and Mac OS X fault. It's just the certain features and capabilities and configurations in Linux. And what some people have found is some of the pool operators have found. One of them is Pal Dorogi, and he goes by iLap on GitHub, and he wrote a GitHub gist that is, I've found a significant improvement by following Pal's recommendation, and I'm using Ubuntu 18.04 now. My primary server was Mac, but on Mac it will limit the number of files open to 12,400, but Linux will let you crank it up to 65,000 to 131,000, okay? File openings, because Jormungandr is a super hyper communicator. It's a very extremely communicative, very efficient communicator, so it has to open up all these files. I don't know exactly how it works, but it's pretty cool. And Pal did a great job on that write-up. A lot of developers doing a lot of work. And so I'm monitoring it now. I set it yesterday and let it run. It does seem to be, I am seeing a bit of an improvement. But it's I still caught forks, so I caught 3 forks since last night, since using Pal's configuration. But big shout out to you, Pal Dorogi, for putting that out there, and thank you for helping the pool operators. We very much appreciate your effort. Philippe, the developers they've showed up for the game. You remember how people were like, people in Cardano and the forums and social media were like, oh, are the developers going to show up and start doing stuff? Yeah, they're showing up. They're here, man. I've got another screen share. The web pages.
Go ahead and share it.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah. But so if you're a pool operator, let me know in the chat if you've migrated over to Ubuntu, or if you've had success with Windows or Mac with a continuous up pool. And what I mean by success is, say, greater than 4 or 5 hours without a fork or a restart. There, I got to define success. Greater than 4 or 5 hours without a fork or restart. Okay.
Nick says all his Linux nodes are configured with the network tweaks, and he's finally building blocks again. That's wonderful. Wonderful to hear.
That is. And I wonder if the more nodes that go to those configurations that are proving successful, that the more stable the network will become. You know that?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I can have a perfectly good car, but if the wheels are out of alignment, it's going to wobble and be all wonky and stuff like that. But you get your all 4 wheels in alignment, and it runs well, right? You know what I mean?
Yes, that is true. That is true.
So I mean, I'm not encouraging people to try to use Linux. I'm just saying maybe that might be something to think about, maybe. But I would say, I'm just going to call it and say Jormungandr is not compatible with Mac OS X Catalina. I'm just going to call it. Catalina is fantastic, but there's limits that I have not figured out how to override yet. And so anytime it tries to make a block in leadership mode, Jormungandr dies.
Okay.
Not Mac, but Jormungandr. So let me screen share the developers' websites.
Okay, sounds good.
Hey, one of them we touched on last night. Okay, let me get to that. And, oops, go a little slow in uptake here. Okay. Okay, so if anyone hasn't seen these yet, let me get this shared out. All right, this is Adascan's web page. Now, Adascan is monitoring both the mainnet, the live mainnet, and the pool mainnet. So if you go to pool.adascan.net, you can see they have the Testnet variant. Their ticker is scan. Here's their pool ticker, scan. And they have pool stat information available on their website. So you can see the developer showed up for the game. All right, pretty cool. And thank you.
Very cool.
That. Yeah. Thank you for that, developer. You are awesome. I don't know who makes Adascan, but shout out to you. Okay, so another one we touched on last week was the Cardano pool tool. People seem to be drawn to this one where you can, oops, that's the testnet. If you go to the ITN, I'm still not looking. There it is. The ITN, the big green one at the top, Explore Pools. And this is one we touched on last week. And we also have ADA. We have adapools.org. Now, this one's interesting. You seen this one, Philippe? This is a little complex.
I saw that this morning.
Yeah, and so this one, this developer put a lot more detail in there. And this one is adapools.org. I don't know what their pool ticker is. You got pooltool.io. Their pool ticker is love. So you type in love, and that's a cool name. I like that. And AdaScan is scan. But adapools.org, I don't know what your ticker is. I don't see it on here, but if I see it, I'll give you the shout out. But yeah, this is really neat because it gives you the average tax over there on the right, average return on investment, and it's providing a rolling update. And it has this really cool grid down here, too, that's showing the stake. Oh, they got a donation wallet up here too.
Okay.
Yeah, and this grid will show you the stake by partition.
Can you scroll up again, Rick?
Yes, sir.
Does that say 7,000 all the way up to the top of the page? 7,254 million ADA. So we have around 7.2 billion ADA stake in this epoch, which is pretty impressive. Pretty impressive.
Yep, that's what it is. 7.2 billion. Nice work, Cardano community. You all showed up for the game.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
It's game time.
And I anticipate that the participation is going to be greater in mainnet than it is in testnet because there are hoops that you had to overcome. A lot of people did not want to bring their ADA off of ledgers, and some people just didn't think that the risk was worth it. I mean, the risk is very small in my opinion, but more people will get involved during the mainnet. So this is always good to go. I know there are some people that still haven't staked, so their balances are waiting for them. So if there's one of you, maybe you can spend the next couple of weeks figuring out exactly what you need to do. It's a pretty simple process. The IOHK team and the Emergo team have made very user-friendly wallets that allow you to access your testnet ADA, send it to your rewards wallet, and delegate to a pool. So I always compare it to like a 3-step process. If you've ever shopped for clothes online or anything online, you put your billing address in one step, your shipping address in another step, and then you confirm. Obviously, you're not putting your address, but you're delegating your wallet. So you're choosing a pool, choosing your wallet, and you're pointing it towards that pool, and it's mission complete after that.
Yeah. Hey, we got a question in chat from
Okay.
Create the Imaginable. And Create the Imaginable asks, what does a fork mean? How does it fork itself? So what a fork is imagine, let's say you have 100 nodes, to make a nice round number, and they are agreeing on what the state of the blockchain, and the blockchain is moving along and moving along. So the blocks are being made and it's moving along. Well, occasionally a leader will sign a block that forms a branch, and it starts to diverge a little bit, and then over time it comes back and it stays on the main chain. The branch gets pruned away and the main chain keeps moving. Well, on occasion, as the chain is moving up and continuing, a fork will start to form, and instead of it getting pruned away by the protocol, let's say we had our 100 nodes, a couple of nodes pick up on it and they begin to propagate it. And let's say maybe at some point 50 of the nodes agree that this is the longest chain, and 50 of the other nodes agree that something else is the longest chain, and they decide to just keep going with what they believe to be the longest chain, and that's what creates the fork, is 50 nodes on one and 50 nodes on the other. And it doesn't have to be 50-50. It can be 40-60, 30-70 or whatever, and the nodes will wander off on their own fork. I don't know how many forks there are. I think it's almost impossible to tell because once a group of nodes wanders off on a fork, it's valid. It's a valid group once they form like two different factions of what they think the blockchain is correct. But what we're doing is we're using the IOHK block explorer for the Shelley testnet as a reference point to say, okay, if I'm not aligning with that particular node that's driving the explorer, then I'm on a fork, and let's kind of like get back, steer the blockchain back to that fork. Now, any block you signed since you've been on that fork is gone. It doesn't exist anymore. and that's where
Yes.
a lot of these pools are losing their blocks.
Yes. Yes. It's a common problem in blockchain. I mean, if you look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin forked into all these different variants of Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV, Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin Super. There's a bunch of forks. So, like Rick was saying, it's not necessarily it's a wrong fork, but you want to try to maintain one chain. So the
Yeah,
goal is to converge onto one point again and make sure that all the nodes are on the same page.
yeah. The Bitcoin forks were deliberate. Like they deliberately said, "Hey, we're going to set
Yeah.
this block hash and say from here on out, this is going to be Bitcoin Cash, and from here on out, this is going to be Bitcoin something 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 else." And and but these forks that we're seeing are not deliberate. They are um, a natural occurrence of the protocol, and eventually, as the parameters are refined, the forks will go away. We have seen that on Testnet, uh, where something is a little bit forky, some parameters are adjusted, a new release comes out. It doesn't mean they have to reset it. Sometimes a release doesn't require a reset. As long as they don't add new features, a new release is compatible with the old release. And then you see the forks tidy up, and you see convergence, and the nodes kind of synchronize with each other.
Yes.
I seen old
Yes.
crypto geek in the chat, and he knows this way better than I do. That guy, man, whew, brilliant. Codex Data Systems, right there. And they made
Shout out to OCG.
shout out to OCG, man.
Dr. Oscar Zacosta says Rick sound low. Wrong mic. Is his sound still low? I think his sound is good on my end, but the listeners, am I significantly? I don't know if I'm significantly. My voice is significantly higher than yours right now, or stronger.
It must be my feed to YouTube because I have my gains cranked up.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
or I mean, I got a lot of apps open, but that shouldn't affect the sound.
Envios Directo says why the rewards are not showing on the wallet. Been on it since day one. Once again, all rewards are automatically distributed by the system, so you may have an issue with data lists. You may have to open up a support ticket. I've heard some stories about people showing zero balances. It's there. It just needs to be tuned for you. I would just be patient, keep on logging in and figuring out what's going on. It usually takes almost 2 days for you to start receiving rewards after a pool has generated blocks. So figure out when you started delegating to which pool and when they started earning blocks, and try to extrapolate exactly when you would be paid rewards. But you can verify that a pool is actually creating blocks. You can go on various websites. Rick was showing some of them below, earlier in the stream. So if you go to pooltool.io, that's a great website as well. You can figure out exactly how many blocks the pool has created, and if they're creating blocks, you will get paid. So it's just a matter of patience and maybe opening up a support ticket. You may have an issue that's isolated within your own Daedalus wallet. So, uh, would you like to add to that, Rick?
Yeah, pay close attention when you delegate. It'll tell you when you'll start getting your rewards. It's in the popover window when you hit it. And General Zod helped me out with that. I was a little off game. I thought it was if I delegate now during Epoch 7, the rewards will start accumulating and reflecting in Epoch 8. But it will accumulate for Epoch 8, but you won't see it until the beginning of Epoch 9, and then the delegation will kick in consistently or whatever it is. But the key is it will tell you in Daedalus when your rewards kick in, when it goes into effect for your delegation. The thing I'm trying to understand is if I redelegate, let's say Epoch 7, I'm delegated to the pool Love, and I want to redelegate to Happy. I'm in Epoch 7, and I redelegate from Love to Happy. And does the kick in Happy during Epoch 8, and am I still going to get the rewards for the rest of 7 on Love? Even though I think so.
Oh! I see what you're
Like if
saying.
I'm on Love during Epoch 7,
Mm.
and then I redelegate to Happy, I still get credit for the rest of Epoch 7, right? That's what I'm wondering. I'm trying to figure that out. I think you do.
That's a good question. That's a good question. I mean, you'll definitely get your rewards from Epic 8 after Epic 8 in Happy, after the completion of the Epic. But as far as your original pool, if you leave mid Epic, I don't know if you get those.
Old
I
Crypto Geek.
don't think you have. I don't think you would get 7. I think you would get 6, and that's it. So if you redelegate, I think you miss like at least 2.
Old
At least
Crypto
2.
Geek answered it in the chat. That's what I was getting at. Old Crypto Geek said you won't see rewards from Happy to 9. Okay.
To 9. Okay.
Yeah. So if I if I go from love to happy right now,
Okay.
I just picked those names. They just came to mind. That was pretty good. And he says, yeah,
Okay.
in the chat. Thank you, Old Crypto Geek. You're
Yeah,
awesome.
that was a great question. That was a great yeah. So, do you want to grab some Reddit questions and then we can jump back to the YouTube questions just to make sure that we catch everyone up on what happened this week?
Yeah, sure. I did have one more screen share.
Okay, let's go for it.
Oh, shoot. No, I actually had 2.
Go for it. Go
let
for
me
it.
hit those really, really fast.
Yeah, go for it.
One of them is very important, and the other one is not. So let's see. So one of them is this. Okay. So sometimes when people open data lists, you can't see the stake pools. You go to the tab and it's empty. There's a file you need to delete. Let me screen share that out to you here. This is yeah, screen grab. So can you see that? Okay. So anyway. You see this file here? Okay, now do this at your own risk. Okay, I cannot vouch for everyone's computer, everyone's configuration. So on Mac, if the stake pools disappear from data list, you delete this little blue file here that says staketechpools.sqlite. First, you have to stop data list, then delete this. This is the database. Then restart data list, and it will regenerate this file, and the stake pools will then show up. And if they don't show up right away, give it some time and restart again, and they'll show up. Okay, so I've tested that one legit on Mac, and it works. And there are some other workarounds. And this was just an example. So on Mac, it's under Library, Application Support, Data List, Rewards V1. Make sure you pick the right one. You see how there's 2 data lists there. And then Wallets, stakepools.sqlite. And if you can't find it, because most of these files are usually hidden by default on a Mac, you simply go to this search bar and type staketechpools.sqlite. Now keep in mind, you're going to have 2 or 3 of them there if you have 2 or 3 versions of data list, but that will get your stake pools to show back up. Okay, so that was one little bit there. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay, Windows, same thing. You just
and just real quick, Hash Beats Cash says you can also get to that file through the state directory and data lists on Startup too, which I've done. So it's a simple click if you don't want to go through the file explorer.
I didn't know that.
No, but
I went the hard way.
No, it works. Both works. Both work. Both work.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, great.
No.
Learn something new every day. Cool. And the other one is an interesting comparison. You know, when you're the math in data lists isn't perfect yet. You know, it takes time to sort these things out. And one of them is the ranking of the pools. You know how the ranking isn't totally fair. It's not fair yet until Jormungandr is working correctly. The ranking that you see in the dataless wallets isn't fair to all pool operators. And I'm not being self-serving. I'm just saying, yeah. I mean, my pool's doing okay, but I'm like, boy, those guys down there, they're actually not doing bad, but they're not going to get anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just how the thing works. But there are some glitches. Can I screen share one more thing?
Of course, go for it. Go for it.
All right, and I'm going to try my desktop, and it's going to blind me for a moment, and I'll get these open. I'll do this as quick as I can. Can I do desktop? All right. I'm going to do desktop, and it might get a little weird at first. I'm going to close this out. Okay, can you see that okay?
Yes.
Well, the problem is, okay, so I can get rid of that. Okay, and let me put data list down here. Okay, this is kind of interesting. Okay, here's Moon 1. These are 2 examples. I use these 2 pools, Moon and Hex, as an example. So here's Moon, and in this example from this morning, Moon is ranked number 96, and then here's Hex. And this is just to help people understand this a little better until the protocol sorts itself out a little bit more. And there's Hex at 118, and then Hex 2 right there. I had to screen grab these suckers. Okay. And then hex 2. So this is just something to be alert to. Let me make that a little bigger so y'all can see it. Okay. And how's that look? Does that look okay, Philippe?
It looks fine.
Okay, all right. So here's a side-by-side comparison of two wallets that I screen grabbed. Now here you have Moon at rank number 96. And we have Hex at rank number 118. So, okay, 96 is better than 118. So I'd pick 96. But when you look inside this little tab here, and you look at the details, you see the controlled stake here is 0 ADA. The profit margin is 8%. The cost per epoch is 250 ADA, and the performance is 15.47%. And all of these stats are higher than, I'm sorry, wait a second. Okay, so you can compare these stats. They're not higher. Compare them over here. The rank of 118. The controlled stake is 25.7 million. Profit margin is 3%, which is lower, which is better. The cost per epoch is 0, and the performance is 14.82%. And they produced 2 blocks, and this one over here produced 0 blocks. So there's not going to be any reward for that. And then you look at, so I thought, well, why would it do that? So let me take a look at the pledge, and maybe a higher or lower pledge will affect it. And I look down here at the pledge and notice that it's lower also. So this pledge is 98,509, and this one's 99,957. So it doesn't make sense right here. I don't know if that's like this wallet is on one fork and this one. Did I miss that? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. OCG is saying in the chat that pledge has no bearing on the system at this point.
Thank you, OCG. You're light.
So, yeah, so I'm not sure what metrics Jormungandr is running in order to determine that one pool is more viable than the next at this point in time. It's interesting.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
So that's just I wanted to point that out to make sure people know it's currently the pool operator themselves or their abilities and their hardware and software may not be. I'm going to stop that share, and there's just little things. That's minor. That's not a big deal. It's still really, really good. It's just be alert to that at this point in time. Okay?
Yeah, okay.
All right, cool.
Okay.
All right. Well, I'll hand it over to you. We ready for Reddit?
All right. So we're going to go over to Reddit. I am going to drop the link right now in the chat. You should see it from... I think I gave the right link. So if you want to follow along, we sorted by top for this week. We're just going to run through them quickly. A lot of them are repeating what happened this week. A lot of them are about staking. So we can go through those relatively quickly because that was the biggest news for the week. But the top story was from IOHK, the Daedalus Rewards wallet is now available. And that happened on Monday. And I guess this was posted 4 days ago, but it happened on Monday. So... yeah, I mean, this is pretty much what we've been talking about all episode. So I guess we can move on to the next Reddit post.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on something. That post was by Maki Mukai. And shout out to Maki. She does so much hard work. She's very quiet and behind the scenes. But a lot of times I see the most professional posts, and it's Maki. You'll see her name tucked away down there in the corner. So nice work, Maki. Thank you for that.
Yes. So the second post is from Mark Stopka, and it was a short read about pool operators check that you're on the right chain. This was earlier in the week. I believe it was Tuesday. It might have been Tuesday or Wednesday when the problem of forking was more isolated. So pool operators were aware that they had to be on the correct chain in order to create blocks, and people were just kind of drifting off. And we were speaking about forks earlier. Things have gotten a little cleaner for some, but a lot of pool operators are still struggling. And I anticipate within the next few weeks, certain patches and certain updates are going to make everyone's experience a little bit cleaner. I don't think we're ever going to get to that 100% where everyone is kind of floating correctly. But the percentages right now, I would say it's less than half that are actually doing what they're supposed to do. And the ones that are actually doing what they're supposed to do, they're still missing blocks. So we just have to take that as it goes. But things are improving. Things are definitely improving.
Yeah, it is getting better because at one point it was 80. My numbers aren't precise, but it was 80 out of 379 were making blocks. 80 out of 379. That's not good. Okay, that's bad. Maybe for batting average, that's okay, but not for crypto. And now it looks like it's up into the 115 to 118 are making blocks approximately. But you got to look really closely at the details. So it appears that more are making blocks. More pools are making blocks.
Yes.
Which is good because it should be distributed. You figure if you have this lottery of 43,000 slots, and you have 0.05% of the stake, you're going to get picked up for a couple. And if it's coming up zero, every time the leader schedules run, when Ouroboros runs, there's something that needs to be fine-tuned there. It needs a little bit of tuning. But
Definitely.
Yeah. And thank you, Mark Stopka, for posting that because I found it extremely useful. I mean, I was doing similar, but I was doing it the hard way. And Mark is obviously a professional in IT because he made that post the easiest way. So if you're a pool operator, check out that post on Reddit from Mark Stopka, and thank you, Mark.
Yes, thank you, Mark. Thank you. The next post is from Adam241091, and we're not going to go over this one. It's just an introduction of your stake pool. It just says introduce your stake pool. So just a quick read about people's stake pools, and I guess people were commenting below, letting you know exactly why you should stake with their stake pool and what their stake pool ticker is. It is pretty competitive out there, and there are a lot of stake pools, and it's just going to increase with number over time. So things are getting competitive, which is great.
Yes, and it was good to have that post there because not everybody needs to run a website or wants to run a website, but at least you have other points in social media where you can post your information about your pool.
Definitely. We also have a post from Trade Feeds about another Quantarol video where a crypto payment system for restaurants. So it's this whole idea of using QR codes and transacting with cryptocurrency. We talked about Quantarol in the previous 2 live streams. They're working on solutions for Cardano and other cryptocurrencies. So this is all about mass adoption and making sure that you can have these accessible payment rails or POS systems like point of sale systems at retail locations like restaurants, hotels, and convenience stores. And this is what's going to allow people to transact their ADA every day. So we all envision a time in place, maybe in the future, where we're staking, we're earning rewards. We have a Light wallet, we have a Light client of Daedalus in the future, or we have a Light client of Yoroi on our phone, and we can just scan and spend our ADA or spend our rewards and move on, all while living within the Cardano ecosystem. I think that a lot of people share similar visions, and it would be great to see more and more adoption from retail locations.
Yeah, I know people like the when mass adoption. This is the kind of thing, baby steps, lots and lots of little baby steps in the right direction. And next thing you know, someday we'll be there.
Yes.
Yeah. Just stop being so whiny on Twitter. I feel for Charles, man. People go after him, and he's a tough guy. Charles is the gladiator in the arena. He's the man.
Yeah, he gets a lot of heat. He gets a lot of
heat, but Charles, if you ever heard me say it, I really admire you, man. You can really take it. You really take it, man. That's coming from an ex-sailor. Yeah, and these, let me see, what else? Oh, did you see the next post where it says, wow, less than 24 hours since we opened the doors for setup in over 120 stake pools. That was 120 stake pools right out of the gate. Now we're at 412.
Yeah.
Philippe, I would argue that at this point in time, the Shelley Testnet is possibly one of the most, well, and not the most decentralized. The Shelley Testnet is a significantly decentralized cryptocurrency, more so than many others.
I agree. Based on the number of pools.
Yeah, I wouldn't say more decentralized than Ethereum Classic, but pretty close.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the rate we're going, it will be the most decentralized, unless Ethereum has plans on transitioning to proof of stake in a decentralized system, because Ethereum is still much larger of a project. But before then, I think that we're doing pretty well. We're doing pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, you've seen it. We touched on it a few weeks ago. Ethereum is going to, I think you're going to see a lot of Ouroboros related features in Ethereum whenever they release their proof of stake.
Agreed.
Yeah, but not Ethereum Classic though. They're going to stay with proof of work.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, they might upgrade their protocol. They're looking at different options there.
Okay.
Their proof of work. Yeah. All right.
We have a couple questions in the chat. People say, let's see. I see Snafu 250. Hey, Philippe, I mentioned the other day of possibly ripping some of Charles' AMA audio available for the podcast. Any interest? I'm not sure I understand that question.
No, I don't know. But let's.
No, I don't understand that question.
Yeah, please clarify if you would, please.
Yeah.
And Create the Imaginal says, are the test pool operators making real ADA even with a testnet? Not yet. It'll be real ADA after testnet when it's transitioned over. I don't entirely understand the details under the hood, but basically, when transactions occur on the testnet, the transactions go from point to point. They go through the blockchain using the UTXO model. The rewards are put in the accounting side of the model. That's the whole thing with chimeric ledgers that Sebastian did a video on. So you got to watch that video. At least that I did, and you got to watch that video to get a better understanding. And but the rewards are on the accounting side. So when it goes to mainnet, I think it'll be relatively simple for them to get it over there. And so it's
yes. Yeah. I'm still a little confused as the stake pool
really
operator where our ADA goes or where our fees go, because I haven't figured that out yet. I'm still trying to figure that out. But
we should bring OCG on here.
Yeah.
That way he doesn't have to type so much. He's already writing enough code.
OCG says, how many people have 32 Ethereum to run a node? Yeah, that's true. So I don't think.
Good point. I don't.
Yeah.
I turned mine into ADA.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ethereum bubbas. I like Ethereum, man. I use Ethereum all the time. That's how
I mean, that's a few $1,000s US, and by the time like staking would release for Ethereum, watch the price be at like 1,000 per Ethereum. So it would be like 30,000 to get an actual node, which is not doable for most people.
That's not unreasonable, man. What did it hit? Like 1,200?
Something like that
in early 2018.
So if they started at then, it would have been like 40,000 to actually run a node, which I don't think most people have in crypto.
No.
Yeah, so.
No. And pool operator pledges show up and people saw my pledge. I had to trade everything for that. I'm not kidding. I had to trade all my Bitcoin and Ethereum to get my pledge up. Yeah, you can call me wrecked. No, I'm just kidding. Just one more reason to call me wrecked.
Right. Snafu says, sorry, unfortunately, the only way I'm able to listen to the AMAs is through YouTube. Basically, if there was a way to make it available in an audio-only version. Well, Charles would have to do that on his end. He would have to store the audio versions locally. What we do on the podcast, we use two programs. We use Zoom and Zencaster. So if you ever come on the podcast, you'll see that we have a local audio recording, which is the high-quality WAV and MP3 files. And then we have the video editing, right? The video software that we use right now is Zoom, and that's what broadcasts to YouTube. But the audio for our podcast is actually streamed on a different platform. So for you to listen to Charles's AMAs, and I'm sure it's his proprietary stuff, he'd have to run his own programs on his computer, a Zencaster type thing, and then release it. But I don't think that's something that the Cardano Effect is planning or going to do.
Yeah. And the reason the Cardano Effect got picked up on so many different podcasting platforms is not because we're persistent, but that's one factor, that we're very persistent. But the other factor is because we're recording extremely high quality audio at a very high bit rate, the audio is really good. And we have a really good audio tech, Kyle, the college student, the TCE Kyle over there on there. And he cleans it up really, really, really tight.
Yeah.
And then whenever the podcast, they review it, like we email them, they say, okay, we're going to review it, we're going to submit it for review, and they come and they pick it up because of that high quality audio.
And shout out to Kyle and Christian, because it takes a team to build these episodes here. It takes a lot of work, and we have a small little team, and we work to make sure that we provide the best quality product to you and the best quality products and future products. So, every episode is a new project for us. So thanks everyone for the support. We just passed over 6,000 subs. So I had said that on the last podcast, but thanks again. Hash Beats Cash says, please expand on the release Charles Hoskinson was talking about on the 23rd. Likely going to be some updates. It's if you're already delegating, I don't think you have to worry about it. This is more for pool operators to make sure that the network is as stable as possible. Frankie Baby says, how come in the recent AMA Charles said that there are no forks? I haven't watched that recent AMA yet. I don't know how to respond to that.
I didn't hear it. If it's there, I didn't hear it. But
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I don't keep track of everything. I wish I could, but I can't.
Yeah.
But there are. I mean, I'm sure he's aware of it.
Yeah.
Because he reads the Telegram and the Telegram operators. It's a public Telegram channel.
Yeah.
And the pool operators will tell you. So yeah, I'm on a fork again. Like right now, while I'm doing this podcast, I'm thinking to myself, man, is my node on a fork right now?
Yeah.
I didn't check it until like half an hour before the podcast. Do I need to run back down there right now and go check it?
Yes.
Yeah. There's definitely forking.
We've been trying to monitor the time, and we've like noted a fork almost every 4 hours on our end. So
I noticed that too.
Yeah, same thing. Yes. So
and you know what Cal and Christian noticed yesterday is that somewhere around 10 o'clock in the morning, Scar was making blocks and Digi was making blocks, and for some period of time they were champs at blocks, and then like after that 3 or 4 hour period, they were checking it on the pooltool.io, and a couple of pooltool.io wasn't up to date. They were checking on any other one that was up to date and checking the block explorer, and they both went silent at the same time too.
Interesting.
So, you know what? I don't know for sure. I'm just gonna like hypothesize or guess. It's called a swag. All right. I'm gonna swag and say, some of the nodes like each other, and they say, ooh, I like these nodes over here, and they kind of hang out with those nodes, and then the other nodes like each other, and then they kind of like pair off into groups, maybe. I don't know. I think that's what happens.
Yeah.
My node likes yours. Don't worry. We saw that on Testnet. They'll work it out. We saw it, I think, on one of the 0.6 variants, and then after some code tweaks and some parameter tweaks, then it all synced up.
Yes. We have another question from Cardano to the Moon. Why are stake pools showing over 311 million ADA? I thought there was a cap. Well, you can stake as much ADA to a pool as possible. It doesn't prevent you from going over the saturation point. And we need to speak about saturation point because there's a lot of different people saying different things. I have not received the final word. We have Nicholas DePrima that was saying stuff like that's not implemented in Jormungandr, so it may be implemented further on, but there's no saturation point now. We have another camp that's saying that the saturation point is at 1% of the delegated stake. And we have another camp that's saying there's 311 million ADA as the saturation point. And we have another camp that's just saying there's no saturation point implemented. So at this point, we're not 100% sure. I think stake pool operators are more focused on making sure that their nodes are working correctly. I think that once things stabilize, people are going to be able to collect their thoughts, figure out what part of the code says what about the saturation point, and move forward accordingly.
You know what I use as my consensus protocol to figure out who's right? Whatever Sebastian says or OCG says, that's what I'm going to go with that.
Okay.
That's how my consensus protocol works. Sebastian said it. Okay, that's true.
Yeah.
OCG said it. Okay, that's true too. OCG, what's your take on that? What do you think, man? We're going to go with that answer.
I mean, Nicholas DePrima.
Is there a cap or no cap?
Yeah. Nicholas DePrima, I'll take his word for it too. He's a pretty serious developer, so, and he works for the project, so.
Yeah, he would know for certain.
Yeah, and
he's an engineer.
And he's
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah. We'll get it worked out.
We'll get it. Yeah.
The tribal knowledge, the fog of war. That's what happens, and we'll sort it out.
We'll sort it. Yeah, just be patient. Be patient.
It's working.
OCG 100 operators and the saturation comes into effect, but Sebastian clarified that said that 100 operators actually winning blocks. That's what he said in the Cardano Effect Telegram group yesterday. So they'd have to win blocks, and I'm not sure if it's for each epoch. So each epoch it would reset, and 100 blocks would have to get minted from 100 different operators in order for that saturation to come in effect.
Yeah.
Or is it like an amalgamation of series of blocks or the entire blockchain? Because if so, we're either near the saturation point or we just haven't hit it yet. Because each epoch, I don't think 100 pools win blocks.
No, not yet. Well, it could be, but I counted 80 out of 379 yesterday morning.
Okay.
Yeah, but you see that OCG and Sebastian's align, and the level of detail is different, but there's not a disagreement there.
Yeah.
And Nostradamus says Rick is replacing Nostradamus on pissing off Charles Hoskinson. No, Nostra, I didn't mean to do it. I swear, I did not mean to piss him off. But yeah, that's right. So I apologize. I'm sorry, Charles. I did not mean to piss you off. I'm sorry, brother. I love you, man. I do.
And Kufu says, can we get a setting to prevent people to stake to a pool after it's saturated? That way other people can't mess with my stake in a pool. I don't think that's ever going to happen. The network is decentralized. That would indicate that there was some method of centralization. And what if, give an example. What if you delegate it? What if all of a sudden we go forward with that logic and then someone gets blackballed or quote unquote canceled in the Cardano ecosystem, and then we notice their stake, and every single pool operator conspires to prevent them from delegating to a pool. They would be unable to delegate. So if that feature to delegate would be restricted at some point, then that would never I don't think that would ever happen. What do you think, Rick?
No, I think I'm not sure what to say on that. I just I know one thing I do know, one thing that I have looked at a little bit more thoroughly was once it goes above 311 million or whatever the saturation point is, more people joining is going to mean the rewards are distributed. The rewards are the same, but they're distributed among more people. So if you see a wallet at 311 million, then don't delegate to it. But the protocol does not stop anyone from delegating, no matter how high it is. It can be a billion, and I can still delegate to it.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how high it is. The user can still delegate. There's nothing that a pool operator can do to stop more delegates from delegating to their pool.
Yes. Yes.
Like maybe I should make a pool called Wrecked, and everybody will delegate to it. No, I'm gonna beat on that one until people get tired of hearing it. And they'll say, okay, we get it.
Rick, if we ever start selling merchandise, the Wreck shirt has to come with your face.
All right, next weekend, I'll wear a shirt that says Wrecked while eating a shoe cake. Fair enough. Oh wait, next podcast. I don't have to be the beginning of January. And we gotta get the pool operators back on too.
Yes, next year. And
I love the pool operators.
They do. And I'd just like to remind everyone, if you haven't caught our previous episode of the Cardano Effect podcast, we had Bakit. And Bakit is the PR communications manager at the Cardano Foundation. We talked all about the McCann partnership they're utilizing the McCann services for a brand refresh. It was actually a very interesting episode. I wasn't expecting to get all that information out. And not every episode you get nuggets out, but every episode I get little golden nuggets. But this one, I felt like I saw exactly where the Cardano Foundation was going, and I really appreciated how they were looking towards the future as far as marketing attempts or marketing efforts for the Cardano project, because that's important for mass adoption. How'd you feel about that episode, Rick?
It was great. Becky was fantastic. He's a great conversationalist, great guy, very warm, very, very he's a great speaker. And he was telling us before we'd recorded the episode, he goes, yeah, I went to this speaking event. I was like, wow, I didn't know Becky did so many speaking events. We don't see those. You don't see those published on social media. He's out there physically showing his face and making a presence, and that level of personal commitment that it takes to put yourself in front of another person and look them in the eye and say, here's what we can provide. This is what we can do, right? That takes a lot. So good job, Keith. That was a great episode. I love talking to him, and I expect we'll have him on again. I anticipate we'll have him on again. If you haven't seen that episode, check it out.
Yes.
Great guy.
He is.
I didn't know him well until right before that episode. We had a few emails back and forth. So how about you, Phil? It was good.
Oh yeah, it was great. He speaks very well. Like, he's an orator. Like, you want that kind of person giving presentations about what the project has in the future. That's the type of person, because the way he speaks, you really get drawn into his stories and drawn into his anecdotes, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, and he speaks several different languages, but he speaks English so well. I mean, he really does. He's very multilingual. Yeah, and but just guys, keep in mind, we point out all the positive things, and sometimes things don't go so well. If you check out episode 18, I had to update the description on episode 18 because Traxia ran into some problems, and so I had to update the description on episode 18. Okay, it's still there. It's not coming down. Okay. Yeah. It's not coming down. At Cardano, we wear our scars, but if you remember, Traxia was a smart contract. Well, it was an ERC20 token that was planning to migrate to Cardano, and it went a different direction. Oops.
You're good? Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, that was the concept, just speaking a little bit about Traxia, because I did get involved with that project early on, and I thought it was a good project. And, everyone has... especially if you've been here since 2017, you've likely put money into projects that just completely failed or went belly up. Emergo vouched for that project. I don't know. They had a series of issues, and there's a certain brand recognition with Emergo and IOHK. You tend to think that, if they're choosing something, they're choosing something well. But it just goes to remind you that you have to even put an extra you have to do even more due diligence. The concept was great, but, they've had their troubles. So we've had to update the episode, and things don't get removed on this channel. We can provide updates, but what we say at that particular moment of time is the truth until we're proven otherwise. And you'll be able to see the false things we said previously.
Yeah, in this channel, the Cardano effect is a historical record of the progress of Cardano. This is a historical record. We don't take videos down. Not happening.
No.
If you come on the Cardano effect, it's permanent.
Yes.
Even with all your warts or facial blemishes.
Exactly. Everything is permanent, regardless. Yeah. So if we ever do like a big community podcast next, or we feature this person or this company, it's all voluntary whether or not you want to be on the Cardano Effect podcast. We do extend invitations, and if you'd like to do it, that's wonderful. But once you do it, that's it. You agree, and we keep it up. It's a historical record. We go through the good, we go through the bad, and we show you everything.
Yeah, 10 years from now, people are going to be looking at these videos going, when MasterCard is powered by Cardano or something, you know what I mean? They're going to look back at these videos and go, really? These two guys? What? Yeah. There's a question from Fergus Courtney in the chat. And Fergus asked, Rick, do you know what .sql file you'd have to delete in order to regenerate the rewards info as per your regen of stake pool data on a testnet wallet? I don't know which specific one you have to do to get the rewards info, but if you check out the video on my Digital Fortress channel, if you do all 4 steps, first close the wallet, do all 4 steps, and then bring it back up, your wallet is basically refreshed. So that might solve the problem. I don't know, but you have to do it at your own risk. I can't test every use case until the problem actually shows up. But when the problem does show up, I will try to figure it out and get the video out. But thank you.
Rick, we're getting to about that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, maybe we should start signing out and saying bye to everyone.
Yeah, sure. Oh, I got another comment from Nostra mentioned about the audio balance. I apologize for that. When we did audio checks, my audio was good. And then I launched Zoom, and it's not so good.
I'm hearing you
Okay.
well on my end, but I feel like there are a couple of users that are not hearing it well. So,
Okay. All right. We'll see if we get that sorted out. But thank you for the
okay.
feedback. I appreciate it. We always appreciate your feedback. All feedback is good feedback. Even if it comes in a package that we don't like, it's okay. We'll get over it.
Yeah.
And we will accept your feedback and consider it. So thank you everyone for your feedback.
Okay.
Um,
All right. So, everyone, I just want to thank you. This is episode 67 of the Cardano Effect podcast. We appreciate you tuning in. This has been going on for over a year. 2019, it had its highs, it had its lows. Price has been completely demolished, and I'm just being completely correct. But next year, let's be positive. Let's move forward. Let's work together. Let's be nice to each other. Price is going to go up eventually, and we're all going to ride that roller coaster to the moon together. Not financial advice. It could also go down to the dirt. But we really appreciate you. We really appreciate you tuning in, even with our live streams. And we don't have the guests from IOHK, Emergo, and the Cardano Foundation, and other companies as well. But next year, you should expect us to get more interviews from people, even expand past our community even more. We try, but hopefully we can bring in more people from different projects on. We want you to make sure that you spent the rest of 2019 with friends and family. Relax. If you're having troubles with Daedalus or Yoroi, just relax. It's all going to sort itself out. Give it a week, give it a couple weeks, and everyone will be staking eventually. And we really appreciate it. Thank you for the 6,000 subscribers. I'm going to give Rick the final words for this year, and let's sign out. Rick, take it away.
All right. All I got to say is thank you to IOHK, the Cardano Foundation, and Emergo for all the hard work y'all been doing. It's been a great year in 2019. We got there. We finally got there. Yay. Good job. And wish you all happy holidays. Spend some time with your family and the people you know and your loved ones. And just have a great holiday, and I'll see you on the new year.
Okay. See you in 2020, everyone.
Take care.
All right.